A squeegee kid charged with murder will be tried as an adult.
It just feels like he's not going to have a chance.
There needs to be some punishment commensurate with the crime.
The reason for the decision and why both sides say there are no winners. This ruling rekindling the issue of teen violence. Fox 45 News questions when the Squeegee Collaborative's plan will bear results, and residents sound off on the crime plaguing Baltimore.
It's terrible right now. They don't have no guidance.
Plus, a bombshell report uncovers decades of child abuse in Maryland Catholic churches, the number of priests involved, and a survivor's emotional reaction.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
I'm Mary Bubala. The 15-year-old squeegee kid accused of killing Timothy Reynolds in July will be tried as an adult.
A judge rejected a plea deal today that would have charged the suspect with manslaughter and moved the case to juvenile court. The first-degree murder charge stands.
And we're going to continue to defend this case like never before.
But there are no winners in this case, and we just are going to continue the fight to get justice for my brother.
Both sides emotional as this case moves along. There are still questions about the root of the problem as we wait for the city's plan to deal with squeegee kids goes into effect in January.
Now we have team coverage tonight, starting with Mackenzie Frost, and a look at what happened in court and what comes next.
After an hours-long closed-door hearing, the judge rejecting the plea agreement on the table, meaning this case moves forward and the adult criminal system and that first-degree murder charge stands. But we heard from both sides. They do not agree on many things, but they do say that there are no winners in this case. Walking into the Juvenile Justice Center Thursday, defense attorney Warren Brown with a hint of optimism that the judge would rule his way.
I hope the law and logic rules today and not emotions. It's a highly emotional situation.
But several hours later,
We are, clearly disappointed that the case is not going to the juvenile court system, but we're still putting our hopes into the future of Mr. Scott, and we respectfully disagree with Judge Dorsey's opinion today.
the plea deal on the table that would have allowed the teenage squeegee kid suspect to plead guilty to manslaughter rejected during a hearing that the public was prevented from sitting in on.
This is not the end. This is the beginning. And we're up for the challenge.
The suspect will face the adult judicial system moving forward. The defense using the opportunity to target the city, pushing for change.
If nothing else comes out of all of this, it should be a determination that we will eliminate the breeding grounds. We will eliminate those environments where children are willing to carry guns.
But earlier in the day, defense attorney Warren Brown not saying where his client got the weapon.
Do you know where your client got the weapon?
No, I don't. And I've been asked that so much. And there's so many guns out here until it's like asking him where did he get his cell phone. You get a gun anywhere in Baltimore City.
The family of Timothy Reynolds, the Baltimore man who was killed at the Inner Harbor at the intersection of Light and Conway Streets in July.
This is just one hurdle in a set of hurdles that we have to go before us.
Says they are staying focused on getting justice for their family member. Court documents filed by the prosecutor in the case, Rita Wistoff-Ito, show still images taken from CCTV video showing the suspect running to get a backpack that had a loaded handgun inside. Police say that gun was used to kill Reynolds after he got out of the car with a bat after an encounter with the squeegee kids. That prosecutor accused of leaking those court documents to the victim's family, now removed from the case, but the Reynolds family grateful for the prosecutor's efforts to get the details out.
Rita put herself on the line for us to make sure that the truth and that justice was done, and we are so grateful for all of that. We're so grateful.
The media not only barred from the courtroom, but eventually kicked out of the entire building for no sound reason. Therefore, it's unclear exactly what was said during the hearing. Meanwhile, City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby echoing the sentiment that there are no winners in the case, issuing a statement writing, quote, "A man has lost his life and a child will have to face consequences because of his inexcusable and reckless actions. It is my sincere hope that this young man will turn his life around and forever remember the damage he has done to the Reynolds family." Another court hearing has not yet been scheduled, but unlike this hearing, moving forward, the court proceedings will likely be open to the public. Outside the Juvenile Justice Center, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Thuru Vignarajah is the Reynolds family spokesperson. He was in court today. He joins us live. Thuru, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What's your reaction to today's outcome?
This is a really important step in the direction of justice. Like the family said, this is not cause for celebration. Nobody is gloating here. This is not a victory, but it is a meaningful milestone in getting us a little bit closer to justice. It sends a clear signal that you can't commit a murder in the first degree and be given a slap on the wrist and be back on the streets.
So Mackenzie talked about Thuru, the fact that the media was kicked out of court. Is that simply because it was still considered a juvenile case at this time, and that changes now after the judge's ruling?
I think that's exactly right. I mean, I think there was a balance that needed to be struck between protecting the defendant's identity. He himself, he committed this when he was 14. He's now 15 years old, and the need for public information. I think the judge struck that balance one particular way. But now going forward, now that it is an adult case, perhaps the media will have greater access.
What happens now? Have we heard any talk at all about, what judge is going to preside over this case, hearings, assembling of a jury, that type of thing?
We don't have those details. This is going to be a long road for the family. They are relieved. They are grateful to Rita, the prosecutor, as well as to all of the outpouring of support from across the city. It's been a privilege to be an advocate for them, and they're just grateful that we won a day of justice here today.
Thuru Vignarajah. Thuru, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, when it comes to the city's plan to deal with squeegee kids, we're still largely in the same place we were when Reynolds was shot and killed on July 7th. Last week, the mayor unveiled his squeegee collaborative plan, which aims to ban squeegee kids in these 6 enforcement zones across the city, including where Reynolds was killed, right here at Conway and Light Streets. But we still don't know how the enforcement will work. Police Commissioner Michael Harrison says officers will issue citations, but it's not clear what they'll be for. There's also the unresolved issue of teen violence that seems to be growing. Keith Daniels has been looking into both of these issues. He joins us live now with much more on this. Keith?
Well, Mary, there are youth violence prevention programs in place in Baltimore City and other initiatives, including job training programs through the mayor's office. Still tonight, the troubling trend of juvenile crime. A 15-year-old squeegee kid now set to stand trial as an adult, accused in the July shooting when he was 14 years old of killing a motorist in downtown Baltimore. The judge's ruling just days after Mayor Brandon Scott released details of his squeegee collaborative plan, which includes no squeegee zones to resolve the long-standing issue. A plan that for some observers does very little, if anything, to actually address the matter.
All we're doing is taking a problem and moving it to a different intersection, period. So that's not fair to the rest of the people who pay taxes in the city, is it? No.
But as the debate over the squeegee issue continues, and a squeegee kid now accused of murder, for some residents, the issue rekindles concern over teen violence, the young victims and perpetrators of crime in the city, particularly for the boy charged in the squeegee-involved murder.
Obviously, it's very extreme behavior, but a lot of teens tend to act out just because they don't really have anything else to do. They don't have any better options. They don't know a different way, and it really sucks that he's probably going to wind up in like an actual adult prison.
Another teen possibly facing prison. As for teen victims, at least 18 children and teenagers have been killed in Baltimore this year. That's more than we saw in any of the past 5 years. In September, police say a 17-year-old shot and killed Jeremiah Brogdon at Mervo High School. On Memorial Day weekend, a 15-year-old Howard County boy accused in the deadly shooting of 17-year-old Neil Mack in the Inner Harbor. 2 other teenage girls hurt in that incident. Young victims, young offenders.
It's certainly very true. It's everywhere.
It's terrible. It's terrible right now. And they ain't got no guidance. They don't have no guidance.
Well, according to BPD, police have charged at least 10 people under the age of 18 with murder so far this year. Real Live Tonight, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
All right, Kate, thank you.
Well, another big question about the Timothy Reynolds murder case is where the teenage suspect got the gun. The federal government is partnering with Maryland and the city to track the flow of illegal guns. Last week, Governor Larry Hogan announced a new task force that will step up patrol efforts along these main arteries in and out of Baltimore City. U.S. Attorney Eric Barron says it will help crack down on the flow of guns.
If you intend to drive with guns or drugs on a Maryland road, you better think twice. Those who turn to guns to solve problems must be deterred by any legal means necessary.
There was no representative from either the city nor the police department during last week's announcement. Hogan said incoming state's attorney Ivan Bates is aware of the plans.
Fox 45 News will continue to follow the Timothy Reynolds murder case, the Squeegee Collaborative, and the other issues facing Baltimore City. You can download the free Fox 45 News app to be sure you don't miss any breaking news. Just search for WBFF in your app store.
Temperatures cold overnight into early tomorrow morning, and then look at what happens by tomorrow afternoon. We pulled out the future scan, dusted things off because looks like we could have a little disturbance coming by, aided by some lake effect snow moisture that could potentially give us a sprinkle here. You see about 6:30 p.m., maybe even a couple of flurries mixed in, especially higher elevations north and west should pass east by 8 p.m. and 9:15 p.m. on your Friday evening for plans. So again, as you're heading into early tomorrow morning, dropping down to about 30 degrees or so. But in the next several days, we could be threatening record cold. I'm going to break down which day is going to be coldest in my Weather Authority forecast.
Next on Fox 45 News at 10, which council members are for and against a bill that would speed up access to their own lifetime pensions after 72% of Baltimore City voters said yes to term limits? Hundreds of victims, dozens of priests identified. An update on the Archdiocese of Baltimore child sex abuse investigation. What's being done to ensure the final report is made public as a survivor speaks out. New information in the deadly Montgomery apartment explosion. The criminal element now being investigated. A proposal to change Baltimore's pension plan for elected leaders in Baltimore City is slated for a final vote on Monday. If passed, it would mean lifetime benefits for part-time work.
Fox 45's Maxine Stryker explains why pensions are becoming a thing of the past in some cities across the country.
In Baltimore City, there are currently more than 12,000 employees enrolled in the city's pension program, and if approved, this would add even more to that list, and it could cost you, the taxpayer, more than you think.
Set for a vote Monday, it's a fast-tracked bill that would lower the number of years Baltimore City elected leaders must work to earn a pension. Currently, they must serve 12 years, but the bill aims to make it only 8. City Council President Nick Mosby, who sponsored the bill, claims it's necessary after Baltimore City voters overwhelmingly passed Question K on Election Day, establishing future term limits for local elected officials.
This may be a very serious financial hit to the city of Baltimore if this legislation passes. Right now, the pension system is fully funded, I believe, at $1.5 million a year. That could balloon, and that could be a real problem and put a drag on the city's finances for decades to come.
David Williams, president of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance, says it won't just cost the city, but you, the taxpayer, will also be on the hook for paying your elected leaders lifetime benefits for part-time work.
And that could mean that thousands of more people in the city of Baltimore will be receiving pensions.
According to city data, just over 8,000 city employees are receiving a pension, and nearly 4,000 fire and police employees who are required to work 25 years before becoming eligible for their pension benefits. That's 3.2% of active Baltimore City workers enrolled in a city pension plan.
I mean, you can look at someone who's 40 years old, becomes a city council member at 48. They're receiving a pension for the rest of their lives, which could be 30 to 40 years.
Williams says pensions are becoming a thing of the past, replaced by 401ks and other defined contribution plans. From 1980 through 2008, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, participants in pension plans fell from 38% to 20% of the U.S. workforce.
And a lot of cities are recognizing that it's what some of the workers want. They want a 401k. They want other options to invest their money in. And it's more stable. And it's really a win-win for taxpayers and the city workers because they're getting a better return, and it's not a burden on taxpayers.
The leader of the city's retirement system and finance department have even expressed concern and pushed back on the timing of this bill.
Now, Mayor Brandon Scott has not said whether or not he will support this plan if it does make it to his desk or if he'll veto it. It is set to appear on the council agenda on Monday. Reporting in Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
This pension bill was introduced by Council President Nick Mosby on the eve before voters overwhelmingly approved Question K. The council voted 9-2 to advance the bill. Zeke Cohen and Ryan Dorsey voted against the measure. 3 members, Mark Conway, Eric Costello, and Felicia Porter, abstained from the vote. And here are the other 9 members who supported the bill. The bill now faces one more vote on Monday before heading to the mayor's desk. The mayor has not publicly spoken out on the bill.
Last night, the Baltimore Sun editorial board came out against the city council's swift action, rebutting Council President Nick Mosby's claim that a vote for Question K was a vote for swifter pension access. In an editorial, the Sun said, quote, "It's far easier to make the case that Question K passed by a 2-1 margin, in part because of Council President Nick Mosby's rushed legislation," and went on to say they urge all parties to shelve this effort until the potential cost and benefits are clear.
That brings us to our question of the day. Is it fair for first responders to wait 25 years for a city pension while council members wait only 8? So far, 98% of the people who voted say no. There's still time to weigh in. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote. Click on the Pulse tab to weigh in.
There's scrutiny tonight of the city school board's contract with the superintendent. Project Baltimore recently revealed city school CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises earns nearly $445,000 a year because of perks in her contract. Her base salary is just over $333,000.
It's really crazy because we're talking about $50,000 a year in deferred compensation. Now, what this means is she doesn't have to pay taxes on that $50,000 a year. She'll get that later. She gets 39 vacation days. Think about that. 39 vacation days, 13 sick days, 3 personal days. And of course, you know, she's not going to take all of those days. So she gets paid for those days at the end of the year. The last contract she had, that amount amounted to about $40,000 that she got paid of unused sick time. And then she gets a car, about $10,000 a year for a car. So this really adds up, and all of a sudden you have $400,000.
Well, Dr. Santelises' contract was approved by the school board. Project Baltimore did reach out to them, and while they declined an interview, they did issue a statement saying our CEO is worth every cent of her salary. You can read the full statement on foxbaltimore.com.
Well, Baltimore City on the verge of crossing a violent threshold. 300 murders for an 8th year in a row. Fox 45 News examines what can be done to turn the tide of violence right after the break.
Still ahead, unanswered questions about why Baltimore County Police Chief Melissa Hyatt is leaving her position. Fox 45 News pushes the county executive for answers.
Cold air sweeping in over the next several days, the next 3 days, in fact. Temperatures probably on a downward trend. Hard to believe after temperatures all in the 40s today. Could only be in the upper 30s by Sunday in the Ravens game. And look at some of these stats. Wow. Record lowest high temperature for the day, 38. We're forecasting 39 and then tying a record low Sunday night. I'm going to let you know how it looks if you're trying to get out of town, get somewhere warmer for the holiday. It's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Baltimore's on the verge of a grim milestone with 299 lives lost to violence. We are one murder away from seeing 300 people killed for the 8th year in a row.
Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell has a look at how we got here and what it will take to change this troubling trend.
The number 300, a somber milestone the city of Baltimore reaches year.
A good man. You're not looking for trouble.
After year.
She's a regular kid. People are angry, people are scared, but they're frustrated also.
Frustrated by the numbers in a city that was once outraged by 200 homicides.
200's unacceptable.
More than 300 has become the norm. Here, a look at the homicide totals over the years. Since 2015, there have been at least 2,631 homicides in Baltimore. That's more than the number of sworn officers within the entire Baltimore City Police Department. Or more than the number of U.S. military deaths during Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, according to statistics with the Department of Defense.
When Mayor Scott ran in 2020, his number one goal was to get it under 300. And it doesn't appear there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Political analyst John Dede believes the city may find hope in new leadership, including incoming Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, who has vowed to enforce all laws on the books.
My job is to hold people accountable.
And more outside help. Back in August, Maryland's U.S. Attorney Eric Barron announced 3 initiatives to tackle crime in Baltimore, including what he called an Al Capone model of prosecution.
I have directed my staff to investigate and prosecute repeat violent offenders for any and all wrongdoing that meets our priorities, especially fraud. This Al Capone model of prosecution is designed to take violent people off the streets by any appropriate legal means necessary.
Maybe this will develop more of a sense of urgency now. I think there can be some hope because there's an expression, a new broom sweeps clean. You know, even criminals know there was an election and Marilyn Mosby isn't going to be around anymore.
But challenges will remain, Dede says, including with the prevalence of guns on city streets and the officer shortage that has the Baltimore Police Department stretched thin.
The jump from 2014 to 2015, a lot of people at the time said, that's an anomaly. That was the Freddie Gray riots and things are going to return to normal. And they never did.
Dede says he believes that unrest, the riots, contributing in part to some reluctance for people to join the Baltimore police force. You may recall the city recently announcing a series of incentives to join the department, including the highest starting salary in the state. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
The Maryland Attorney General is asking to release a long-awaited report on child abuse in the Archdiocese of Baltimore. What we know about that report.
Now that Republicans have control of the House, they're laying out their plans, how they say they'll handle the Hunter Biden investigation. Those stories, much more right after the break.
Our top story at 10:30, the Maryland Attorney General's office is filing a motion to release a report on child sexual abuse in the Archdiocese of Baltimore dating back decades.
That's right. The years-long investigation identifies hundreds of victims.
Riel Creighton has been looking into the request from the AG, and she joins us live now with more on this story. Riel?
Hey, Kai and Mary, this chronicles abuse dating all the way back to the 1940s. More than 150 predator priests implicated. The Maryland Attorney General's office says that the Archdiocese failed to adequately investigate allegations of abuse, failed to report them, and failed to remove abusers. In fact, they say instead, quote, they went to great lengths to keep the abuse secret. No parish was safe. It's the scope of a 4-year investigation by the Maryland Attorney General's office into allegations of sexual abuse by priests assigned to the Archdiocese of Baltimore and the Archdiocese response to that abuse. Accusations of sexual abuse over the last 80 years. A motion filed today to release the more than 450-page report that investigators say uncovered 600 victims.
It's sickening. It's just sickening.
Reaction from David Lorenz, a survivor himself and Maryland director of the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests.
Emotions across the board, right? I'm hurt. My heart just aches. I just can't believe it. I'm angry, hopeful. I'm hurt because, I mean, we're talking 600 kids, right? 600. There's 17 times as many victims as there are reported. That's a boatload of people who are hurt. That's a lot hurt. So it's unfathomable to me, the pain that's going on.
The motion argues there are almost certainly hundreds more victims of, quote, rampant sexual abuse within the Archdiocese. Disturbing accounts involving both boys and girls ranging in age from preschool to young adults. A 10-year-old boy's victimization so traumatic, he suffered facial paralysis because of it. Investigators say a summary of the sexual abuse and physical torture perpetrated by 158 identified priests, including 43 never publicly known.
I'm not the least bit surprised. There has been, the bishops have been lying since way before 2002, and since they were caught in 2002, they're still lying.
In response to Thursday's motion, Archbishop William E. Laurie issuing a public apology, saying in part, sadly, we know horrifyingly well the enormity of the grievous harm caused. Upon reading today's motion, we feel renewed shame, deep remorse, and heartfelt sympathy, most especially to those who suffered from the actions of representatives of the very church entrusted with their spiritual and physical well-being. Now, Staff Director Lorenz wants for all the names of the alleged abusers to be published, even if they have passed on. He says it also is worth pointing out that the full 450-page report still remains to be seen. This is just the request to make that public. Reporting live tonight outside of the Archdiocese of Baltimore, Riel Creighton, Fox 45 News.
Riel, thank you. Be the first to know about breaking news by signing up for News on the Go. Go to foxbaltimore.com, click on Mobile Alerts, sign up under the Station tab. You can also download the Fox 45 app for your smartphone. Just search WBFF in your app store.
Baltimore County Council Chairman Julian Jones is in the hot seat tonight in light of a new Inspector General report accusing him of using public dollars to benefit a private business owner who's donated thousands of dollars to his campaign. The report claims Jones pushed to use nearly 70,000 county dollars to repave an alleyway near a private business. Now, the report says that money was supposed to be used to improve alleys near residential properties, not private businesses. Fox 45 News questioned Jones about it today.
As it relates to him being a donor of mine, I have quite a few donors, but I assure you that is not why I took any action on this.
Can you see where someone might think that that's a conflict of interest?
Well, I could see why people may think a lot of things, but the reality is I did not do anything wrong.
Well, County Executive Johnny Olszewski disagrees with the IG report, saying the funds could be used for both commercial and private areas. The dispute comes after Jones and Olszewski tried to create a politically controlled oversight board to govern the office of Inspector General last year. That board was never created.
Well, Fox 45 News continues to follow a major shakeup in the Baltimore County Police Department. Chief Melissa Hyatt will leave her post next month. Now a national search is underway for her replacement. As Fox 45's Amy Simpson explains, there are unanswered questions about what prompted this big change.
The end of her tenure is less than 3 weeks away, but tonight we don't know if she resigned, was asked to resign, or if this was a mutual decision to go separate ways.
When I started in June of 2019.
Change is coming at the top of the Baltimore County Police Department, with news that Chief Melissa Hyatt will no longer be in charge after December 5th. That date marking the end of Hyatt's contract.
Good morning, everyone.
And the start of County Executive Johnny Olszewski's next term. But when asked why and what prompted the departure,
leaders come and go for a variety of reasons, and we are very thankful for the chief's service these past years.
Johnny O with the same response several times today. Will you say if Chief Hyatt had any say in this decision about her departure?
I would just again say that leaders come and go for a variety of reasons. I'm very grateful for the work that we've done. I'm proud of what Chief Hyatt and I have done together in the years past. There have been some really important reforms enacted, some important progress made in the department, and we're looking forward to what's ahead.
Back in May, the Baltimore County Police Union signaled a divide in the department, holding a unanimous vote of no confidence in Chief Hyatt, saying it had lost all faith and confidence in her leadership. But even after that public display of dissatisfaction, the county executive, the one with the power to hire and fire the head of police, stood by the chief. The FOP held a vote of no confidence for Chief Hyatt 6 months ago. Afterwards, you said you were fully confident in her abilities. What has changed for you in those last 6 months?
We listen to all of our constituencies, including the FOP. At the end of the day, we take those that feedback into consideration, but we don't make decisions on one factor.
Today, the union with a candid response.
It's basically as if a breath of fresh air. The membership's looking really forward to moving forward. They were very, very upset with how things were going.
The Fraternal Order of Police says it can now move forward with rebuilding the agency.
It was time for change. He recognized that, and I can tell you, as far as for the rank and file of the Baltimore County Police Department, they're very appreciative of that.
Best case scenario, the union says, would be for local talent to be considered for the top job, but knows the county executive has the right to search far and wide for the right person. Regardless, the FOP wants its next chief to prioritize one thing:
membership. We've lost a lot of police officers to other agencies in the state, so it's not police reform. It's not Annapolis. It's leadership here.
Today, I asked the department for an interview with Chief Hyatt to discuss her departure, but I'm told she's out of town on business. Meanwhile, an interim chief has not yet been named. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
In a statement yesterday afternoon, Chief Hyatt said, in part, with the end of my term quickly approaching, I am both saddened to be leaving my Baltimore County family and excited to see what the future holds. During my tenure as chief, we worked through challenging times. I am so very proud of our many accomplishments, including initiatives that sharpened our focus on community trust, public safety, and officer wellness. You can find more on this story, including Hyatt's full statement, on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Continuing coverage of the condo building explosion in Gaithersburg. A body has been recovered from the rubble, yet it's not clear who that person is. 14 others were hurt in the explosion. Montgomery County Police are now investigating the possibility that this was a criminal and intentional act. This is the third building explosion in Montgomery County in 6 years. The others involved natural gas. And just in tonight, in Anne Arundel County, the Board of Elections tells Fox 45 News it will be next week until they certify election results, missing tomorrow's deadline. We're told the remaining ballots should be counted by tomorrow. The county chose to wait to count mail-in ballots despite a ruling in October that mail-in ballots could be opened and counted early. We're told the county wants to review the records one more time before finalizing results.
Taking a live look from Capitol Hill, we are at the end of an era. Baltimore native Nancy Pelosi, the first woman to lead a major political party in either chamber of Congress, will step down from her leadership position. Pelosi has spent 20 years in Democratic leadership and says she is confident in her party's future. She says despite leading leadership, she is not leaving Congress.
My friends, no matter what title you all, my colleagues, have bestowed upon me, Speaker, Leader, Whip, there is no greater official honor for me than to stand on this floor and to speak for the people of San Francisco. This I will continue to do as a member of the House.
Pelosi grew up in Baltimore as Nancy D'Alessandro. Both her father and brother were prominent city politicians who served a combined 4 terms as mayor.
Well, people are taking to social media to react to the news. Let's take a look at some of the responses coming in tonight. This one from President Biden himself. When I think of Nancy Pelosi, I think of dignity. Some other ones, this coming in from Paul Ryan, former Speaker himself. I tip my hat as I welcome Nancy Pelosi to the former Speakers Club and congratulate her on an historic career. Here, this one from former President Barack Obama. Speaker Nancy Pelosi will go down as one of the most accomplished legislators in American history. And this one coming in from the Vice President, Kamala Harris. Thank you, Speaker Pelosi. Our entire nation is forever grateful for your leadership.
With Republicans officially in charge of the House come January, the incoming chairman of the House Oversight Committee has laid out the roadmap for its investigations into Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings. The National Desk's Ryan Smith has the story.
There's still more than 6 weeks until Republicans officially take over the U.S. House following their midterm victory, but they are not wasting any time in ramping up their investigation of the president and his son.
Was Joe Biden directly involved with Hunter Biden's business deals, and is he compromised? That's our investigation.
Incoming chairman of the Oversight Committee, James Comer, said the most important thing for them is to get access to Hunter Biden's bank records that detail alleged suspicious activity, a request that has been refused by the Treasury Department.
These suspicious activity reports are very detailed, and these aren't from little banks like in my part of Kentucky. These are, Wells Fargo, J.P. Morgan.
In the investigation documents, Republicans say a review of Hunter's laptop and information from whistleblowers reveals a decade-long pattern of influence peddling, national security risks, and political cover-ups.
Why has the Biden administration suddenly changed their position on suspicious activity reports? Any member of Congress, any chairman wanted to see him, any ranking member wanted to see him, any member of Congress, any committee, you got a chance to see him. Suddenly, no, we can't see him.
Hunter Biden has been under federal investigation since 2018, initially centered around his business ties with China and Ukraine. Last month, the Washington Post reporting that federal agents have gathered what they believe is sufficient evidence to charge him with tax crimes and a false statement related to a gun purchase. President Biden has long defended his son, and when asked last week about the GOP's plans for investigations, the president said, quote, "Lots of luck in your senior year."
I think the American people will look at all of that for what it is. It's just almost comedy.
In addition to digging into the president and his son, Republicans have said they also plan on investigating the origins of COVID-19 and the Biden administration's withdrawal from Afghanistan. I'm Ryan Smith reporting.
One fugitive is behind bars thanks to a viewer tip, while another accused of abusing a child is on the run. What you need to know in tonight's Maryland's Most Wanted.
And the morning commute's going to be a bright one with sunglasses needed, but also heavy jackets needed. Temperatures only down into the 20s when you wake up. By about 10 a.m., we're at 41. Watch for some sun glare here. I'm going to let you know when we could fade this to some snow showers, flurries, and sprinkles. It's all up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Well, Thanksgiving is 1 week from today. Nearly 55 million people will travel for the holiday, according to AAA. 49 million are driving to their destinations. 4.5 million are flying. Overall, it's about a 1.5% increase from last year's travel numbers and just shy of pre-pandemic levels. Well, many people will start heading to their holiday destinations in the next few days. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers with a look at our travel forecast.
Yeah, if you're going to try and get there early, perhaps maybe as early as tonight or tomorrow. Right now, all the departures out of Baltimore, they're on time. That's great news. Charlotte's on time if you're flying down that way to that hub. Atlanta's on time. Miami on time. Chicago on time. And L.A. on time. I'm sure if you're going to Buffalo, it's not going to be on time. There's up to about 4+ feet of snow expected there over the next several days with thunder snow now ongoing there. Actually, around Denver, there are some snow showers, too, so we do have some delays. Now, if you're going to be driving, hitting the roads, travel cast for tomorrow in the morning, all green through noon and also through the afternoon rush, or maybe if you're just going to be heading out and about to Grandma's house for Turkey Day, temperatures only warming into the 40s by tomorrow afternoon, so you're going to have those heaters on along with the sunglasses. Now, it's clear skies at 35 right now here in Baltimore at BWI. Winds out of the west at 9, humidity 54%, and our wind chill already dipping into the upper 20s. Temperatures all across the board, eastern shore, western side of the bay, including Baltimore, generally in the 30s until you get way out here west toward Oakland, where they've got some snow on the ground, down to 23 already there. 29 at Detroit, and then look at this big bulge of cold air out to the west. Guess what? That's what's coming toward us for the weekend. So temperatures go even lower, perhaps, as we head into Saturday and Sunday. HD radar showing some snow showers, flurries, actually some big bands of lake effect snow heading toward Buffalo. Heavy snow reported there in the past hour. But there's some snow showers and flurries on the southern end of all that. And perhaps is this little weather maker, a cold front that's going to introduce more chillier air toward us as we head into the weekend, rolls through here tomorrow. Well, we could see a stray flurry or sprinkle as well. Take a look at the future scan. Work our way overnight into early tomorrow morning. Mainly clear skies, temperature settling to near freezing. But this is that front and kind of a mixture of some lake moisture, too, trying to make that move southbound. Notice that sprinkle at 5 p.m., maybe even a flurry in there, perhaps. Nothing that should accumulate as we're above freezing. Then that passes east as we head into the evening. Colder day on Saturday, even colder yet, maybe record cold for the high. And then the Sunday night low temperature. Ravens game going to be very chilly. And by Thanksgiving Day, we're back down into the 40s after a brief warm up middle of next week.
A Baltimore man is accused of raping a child, and a fugitive is now behind bars thanks to a tip from you. Alexa Ashwell has this week's Maryland's Most Wanted.
Investigators say he used his relationship with the child's mother to gain access to the now 14-year-old. This man, identified as Elmer Cortez Gonzalez, is wanted by the U.S. Marshal Service. He's been on the run for the past 2 months, and now federal agents need your help tracking him down.
September 2022, a child and her mother go to the police to report a disturbing crime.
A 14-year-old girl came forward to Protective Services, and she explained that a friend of her mother's had been molesting her for a period of years.
Officials identified the friend as Elmer Cortez Gonzalez. They say the sexual abuse began 4 years ago when the child was just 10 years old and would occur in a home in the Lakeland community of Southwest Baltimore.
He was using his relationship with the mother to make sure he can get her alone so he can carry out his deeds.
Grooming and ultimately victimizing the child, officials say. Al Maresca is a deputy marshal with the U.S. Marshal Service. He says agents believe Cortez Gonzalez is still in the Baltimore region and likely receiving help from family or friends.
Individuals like this, they're very good at building trust, and ultimately they can convince you that they're innocent.
Maresca calling Cortez Gonzalez a sexual predator who must be taken off the streets.
They're very good at manipulation. If someone can convince you to leave their daughter with them over a prolonged period of time and then look you right in the eye and then betray you, there's no telling what they'll do to the general public.
Take a good look. 37-year-old Cortez Gonzalez stands at about 5'6" and weighs approximately 145 pounds. If you have any information into his whereabouts, here's the tip line number, 1-877-WANTED-2. Or you can contact agents directly. The number right here, 202-819-5058.
An update on a Baltimore man wanted for the rape of a 12-year-old girl. After nearly 2 years on the run, Alex Bennett is now in custody. Bennett was featured on Maryland's Most Wanted back in August. Officials say they received a tip about Bennett, who was staying in a group home in Baltimore County. He was arrested there and will soon face a judge.
If you recognize any of the fugitives on our board, remember, you can always remain anonymous and you could earn a reward. I'm Alexa Ashwell, and this is Maryland's Most Wanted.
Ahead on the late edition, details in a years-long investigation into Baltimore's archdiocese come to light. What we're learning about the victims and the priests involved. A life-saving diabetes treatment about to hit the market. Why the FDA says the drug can delay onset of symptoms for years. And Sunday could mark the NFL debut for one Ravens rookie. What he could bring to the defense when healthy. That's ahead on Sports Unlimited.
Many watched David Ajabo's pro day in March and the unfortunate injury he suffered during the event. Ajabo tore his Achilles during a drill, causing the projected first-round pick to fall in the draft. Then, in the second round, with the 45th overall pick, Ajabo heard his name called. That's when the Ravens took the former Michigan linebacker, reuniting him with defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald. There's potential that Ajabo makes his NFL debut this Sunday against the Panthers, and Macdonald has loved what he's seen so far.
Yeah, he's playing fast. I mean, I know obviously the playbook he's familiar with, so it's just a matter of just getting him ready to roll. But I think his confidence is right there, and he looks good.
I feel good. I feel great, actually. Yeah. So like I said, man, my number's called. I'll be ready. Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. Just day by day and just giving it your all, giving it your best, because that's how you get the best outcome. So. I just know deep inside, if I give it my best, give it my all, I'm going to make a 100% recovery.
As far as injuries go, Jalen Armour-Davis did not practice today due to a hip injury. Gus Edwards and Mark Andrews were both limited. When Andrews was asked in the locker room if he would play Sunday, he said you never know. Jason Pierre-Paul, he was a full participant again. Coming up, with Gus Edwards banged up and J.K. Dobbins still out, Kenyon Drake could get the start again. I catch up with the Ravens running back ahead on Sports Unlimited.
Rocco, thank you. New tonight on the late edition, remaining Twitter employees locked out of their offices. Why Elon Musk is giving them an ultimatum. But first, Thanksgiving now a week away. Many families are already shopping for ingredients, of course. How much a trip to the grocery store could set you back before Turkey Day? Well, millions of people will be heading to the grocery store in the next few days ahead of Thanksgiving next week. The traditional Thanksgiving meal is going to cost you more this year. No surprise. The price of a turkey per pound is up 21% over last year. Whipped cream and pie crusts are up 26%. A bag of stuffing mix increased by a whopping 69%. The high prices are having an impact on food banks as well. The Alliance to End Hunger says its members have reported a higher need with lower donation levels.
We're going to continue to defend this case like never before.
But there are no winners in this case, and we just are going to continue the fight to get justice for our brothers.
No plea deal for a teen arrested in a deadly shooting near the Inner Harbor. Why all involved say no one wins. Maryland's Attorney General pushes to release a report on sexual assault within the Baltimore Archdiocese, how far back the alleged abuse dates, and how many victims could be involved. And Anne Arundel County won't certify election results by tomorrow's deadline. Why the county is taking its time.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News Late Edition.
Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson. A plea deal rejected today in the case of the teen accused of shooting and killing Timothy Reynolds in July. The 15-year-old who squeegeed by the Inner Harbor will be tried as an adult on murder charges. His defense lawyers wanted him to face manslaughter charges in juvenile court. The defense says they aren't giving up, while Reynolds' family says this is just the first step.
He's 14, he's 15 now. I mean, I'm just not willing to give up on him that easily. I'm not willing to just throw him in a penitentiary. Hagerstown, Jessup, Eastern Shore. Because trust, when he comes out, thing is bad now, you better run for the hills. And that does none of us any good.
This is just one hurdle in a set of hurdles that we have to go before us to get justice for my brother. And just so everyone knows, we are not celebrating. We believe that that was the right thing to do, but there are no winners in this case. And we just are going to continue the fight to get justice for my brother.
City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby's office responded to the ruling, saying there are no winners today. She went on to say the juvenile justice system is rooted in reform, and she hopes the young teen will turn his life around. Some Baltimore residents are still calling for a stronger squeegee response from the city. Mayor Brandon Scott unveiled his squeegee collaborative plan last week with the goal of clearing street corners using a 3 strikes rule. But it's not clear what citations people will face if they continue to squeegee. As it stands, while waiting for new policies to take effect in January, the broader issue of crime impacting young people in Baltimore remains. Keith Daniels reports on the issue of teen violence.
Where there are youth violence prevention programs available in Baltimore City and other initiatives, including job training through the mayor's office. Still tonight, the troubling trend of juvenile crime. A 15-year-old squeegee kid now set to stand trial as an adult, accused in the July shooting when he was 14 years old of killing a motorist in downtown Baltimore. The judge's ruling just days after Mayor Brandon Scott released details of his squeegee collaborative plan, which includes no squeegee zones to resolve the long-standing issue. A plan that for some observers does very little, if anything, to actually address the matter.
All we're doing is taking a problem and moving it to a different intersection, period. So that's not fair to the rest of the people who pay taxes in the city, is it? No.
But as the debate over the squeegee issue continues, and a squeegee kid now accused of murder, for some residents, the issue rekindles concern over teen violence, the young victims and perpetrators of crime in the city, particularly for the boy charged in the squeegee-involved murder.
Obviously, it's very extreme behavior, but a lot of teens tend to act out just because they don't really have anything else to do. They don't have any better options. They don't know a different way, and it really sucks that he's probably going to wind up in like an actual adult prison.
Another teen possibly facing prison. As for teen victims, at least 18 children and teenagers have been killed in Baltimore this year. That's more than we saw in any of the past 5 years. In September, police say a 17-year-old shot and killed Jeremiah Brogdon at Mervo High School. On Memorial Day weekend, a 15-year-old Howard County boy accused in the deadly shooting of 17-year-old Neil Mack in the Inner Harbor. 2 other teenage girls hurt in that incident. Young victims, young offenders.
It's certainly very true. It's everywhere.
It's terrible. It's terrible right now. They ain't got no guidance. They don't have no guidance.
Well, according to BPD, police have charged at least 10 people under the age of 18 with murder so far this year. Reporting tonight, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
New tonight, a body has been recovered from the rubble following that explosion at a Gaithersburg apartment building Wednesday afternoon. 14 others were hurt in the explosion after a gas line ruptured. Montgomery County officials are now investigating whether this was a criminal, even intentional act.
We don't know the cause of this. We have no reason to believe it's a regulator. But when we find out the cause, we see if there's a thread that links all 3 incidents. But right now, you've got 2 incidents with no thread between them. I don't know whether this third one will produce a thread.
The fire department is now using an industrial crane to remove pieces of the collapsed building. The full investigation is expected to last several days.
Anne Arundel County's Board of Elections tells Fox 45 News it will be next week when they certify election results, missing tomorrow's deadline. They expect to count all remaining ballots by Friday. The county chose to wait to count mail-in ballots despite a ruling in October that mail-in ballots could be opened early. We're told the county wants to review the records one more time next week before finalizing results. The end of an era in Washington. Nancy Pelosi, a Baltimore native and first woman to lead a major political party in either chamber of Congress, will step down from her leadership when Congress convenes next year. Pelosi has spent 20 years in Democratic leadership and most recently as House Speaker. She says she's confident in her party's future. She says despite leaving leadership, she will remain active in Congress. The Baltimore City Council is moving ahead with plans to shorten pension requirements, why taxpayers could feel the brunt of that change.
And if you're planning on getting out of town early for the Thanksgiving holiday, well, it's still a week away, but hey, some folks want to beat the crowds, and it looks like great weather for it as we head through our Friday, although there could be a rain or snow shower in the afternoon. We're tracking it on the Future Scan coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
I work hard in the city for my constituents. I bring money to my constituents. Only job I have. I'm working hard. When I leave here, I want to have a pension.
A proposal to change Baltimore's pension plan for elected leaders is slated for a final vote Monday. It would reduce lifetime pension requirements from 12 years to 8 years after residents overwhelmingly approved Question K, establishing term limits for elected leaders in the city. But taxpayer advocate David Williams argues Baltimore taxpayers, will be on the hook for what he calls part-time work.
This may be a very serious financial hit to the city of Baltimore if this legislation passes. Right now, the pension system is fully funded, I believe, at $1.5 million a year. That could balloon, and that could be a real problem and put a drag on the city's finances for decades to come. That could mean that thousands of more people in the city of Baltimore will be receiving pensions.
Well, more than 3% of Baltimore workers are currently involved in a pension plan. Mayor Brandon Scott has not said whether he would support the plan to change the city's pension rules. Still ahead, Twitter employees locked out of the office. What Elon Musk reportedly fears could happen if he lets employees back in. And Buffalo, New York is bracing for feet, many of them, of snow in the coming hours. How the NFL is adjusting its schedule in response. There's troubling information unfolding as part of a years-long investigation into sexual assault within the Archdiocese of Baltimore. Fox 45's Riel Creighton is looking into the new filings and speaks with a survivor.
It's a report that chronicles abuse dating all the way back to the 1940s. More than 150 predator priests implicated. The Attorney General's office says that the Archdiocese failed to investigate allegations of abuse, failed to report predator priests, and also failed to remove abusers. They say they even went to great lengths to keep the abuse secret. No parish was safe. It's the scope of a 4-year investigation by the Maryland Attorney General's office into allegations of sexual abuse by priests assigned to the Archdiocese of Baltimore and the Archdiocese response to that abuse. Accusations of sexual abuse over the last 80 years. A motion filed today to release the more than 450-page report that investigators say uncovered 600 victims.
It's sickening. It's just sickening.
Reaction from David Lorenz, a survivor himself and Maryland director of the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests.
Emotions across the board, right? I'm hurt. My heart just aches. I just can't believe it. I'm angry, hopeful. I'm hurt because, I mean, we're talking 600 kids, right? Right? 600. There's 17 times as many victims as there are reported. That's a boatload of people who are hurt. That's a lot hurt. So it's unfathomable to me, the pain that's going on.
The motion argues there are almost certainly hundreds more victims of, quote, rampant sexual abuse within the Archdiocese. Disturbing accounts involving both boys and girls ranging in age from preschool to young adults. A 10-year-old boy's victimization so traumatic, he suffered facial paralysis because of it. Investigators say a summary of the sexual abuse and physical torture perpetrated by 158 identified priests, including 43 never publicly known.
I'm not the least bit surprised. There has been, the bishops have been lying since way before 2002, and since they were caught in 2002, they're still lying.
In response to Thursday's motion, Archbishop William E. Laurie issuing a public apology, saying in part, "Sadly, we know horrifyingly well the enormity of the grievous harm caused. Upon reading today's motion, we feel renewed shame, deep remorse, and heartfelt sympathy, most especially to those who suffered from the actions of representatives of the very church entrusted with their spiritual and physical well-being." A staff director, Lorenz, wants all of the names of accused priests to be published, even if they have passed on. Meantime, it's also worth pointing out again that more than 450-page report, this is just a request to publish it. It still remains to be seen. Reporting outside of the Archdiocese of Baltimore tonight, Riel Creighton, Fox 45 News.
We have breaking news tonight from Twitter headquarters offices. They are locked and building access blocked for every Twitter employee as Elon Musk gives workers an ultimatum about committing to extremely hard work or leaving. That office locked out, according to multiple reports. Now, Musk says anyone who didn't respond to today's 5 p.m. deadline will automatically be laid off. It turns out more people than expected departed. A similar lockout reportedly happened during an earlier round of Musk-implemented layoffs out of fear of sabotage by departing employees. And the snow starting to fall in Buffalo. A decent coating already tonight, upwards of 4 feet of snow expected in some parts of New York State. Meantime, the storm has caught the attention of the NFL. Now moving Sunday's game between the Bills and Browns to Detroit, which has a domed stadium. 8 years ago, the team was forced to make a similar move.
You can't buckle your knees. If things happen in this business all the time, we know where we live. We know weather can be a factor. You know, I wasn't here in 2014, but I've heard many stories of that snow event and what happened and how they handled it.
Well, while Buffalo is no stranger to big storms, New York State is stepping in to offer additional salt trucks and plows. Well, no blizzard here, thank goodness, but it has been cold for several days. Meteorologist, Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers, of course, is from New York State. He knows about this weather. Jonathan,
I'm from downstate New York.
A little further south, but I remember that big storm Buffalo had 8 years ago. That was a whopper.
Like almost to the day. It's hard to believe. And they saw a good about 4 or 5 feet of snow.
Yeah.
Looks like that may happen once again. I actually worked in Rochester, New York, just down the road from Buffalo, where they're only expecting a couple inches of snow out of this. Right. But it shows you just how localized. It's crazy.
Yes.
These lake effect snow bands are. Around Buffalo, there could be 4 to 5 feet of snow by the time the weekend is said and done. We could actually get a couple of flurries and sprinkles out of some of that activity as well, maybe into tomorrow. But I do want to, since we've been talking about it, get into some of the mechanics of how this lake effect snow works. Well, number one, the reason we don't get lake effect snow around here is you need a lake, a big lake, like Lake Erie. That's what's down to the south and west of Buffalo. Surrounding areas around the warm and moist lake, which doesn't cool down quite as quickly as the Arctic air and the Arctic land around it. Well, that warm and humid air mass, it basically makes the bottom end of that cold air, as it kind of wafts its way on the winds over the lake, it makes it warmer and more humid, which makes it lighter, less dense. So it starts to rise. It's what we call convection. It's how thunderstorms actually work as well. But then, once it hits the cold levels of the atmosphere, this stuff begins to condense. The moisture comes out, and the winds that have begun the whole process drag that band of snow. And as long as those winds stay in the same place, same direction, drags a band of snow time after time and again over the same spots. And that's when you end up with these prolific snowfall totals if that pattern doesn't change and the wind direction remains exactly the same. Now, around here, again, we're going to be pretty far removed from it, but there could be a flurry or spritz into tomorrow. Would not be surprised. Mile 1000 Cam, we're getting the cold air. That's the cold air that's causing all the snow to the north. 34 winds out of the west at 8 miles an hour. Wind chills in the 20s. Temperatures area-wide are in the 30s on their way into probably the upper 20s to near 30 by tomorrow morning, so you're going to need to bundle up. Even with a lighter wind now, it still feels like about 27, 28 degrees. HG radar showing an incredible snow band now building right along Buffalo. You see these lightning strikes? Yes, I said it's the same kind of thunderstorm process. Well, there is thunder snow going on over the Great Lakes right now. Pretty incredible stuff. 2-3 inches an hour going on currently, and that's going to continue the next couple of days. On the southern end of all this, you'll see some of that blue that's around Indianapolis and Chicago. Some of the snow showers and flurries that are kind of being bolstered by a cold front. That's our next weather maker that's going to keep us cold into the weekend. Well, those may last up and over the Appalachians. Just plain old lake effect snow itself usually doesn't make it. But if it has something to kind of give it a little oomph, well, you can get a flurry or two. And that could happen tomorrow as some colder air, even colder than what we're seeing right now, moves in through the weekend. Highs may struggle by Sunday to make it to 40. The forecast high 39. Could beat the record lowest high for the day set back in 1984 at 38. And that's when you're watching the Ravens game. And then Sunday night, we could tie a record at least at perhaps 22 degrees there. So here we go. Let's take a look. Forecast for tonight, the chill is in. Notice into tomorrow, we start cold and sunny. By the afternoon, clouds increase. And there it is, that chance of a sprinkle or maybe in the blue there. Could even see a flurry mixed in. Should not be accumulating as temperatures do remain above freezing for this into tomorrow evening. But evening plans, you could see a flake or a sprinkle, and then that moves south and east and out, and the colder air sets up. 29, mostly clear for tonight. Tomorrow, 46, increasing clouds. Again, don't be surprised. In a couple of spots, you could see another shot at getting the first flake or two of the season. 43 on Saturday. Sunday, a high only 39 and blustery. Wind chills in the 20s for the Ravens game. 48 on Monday, and then we warm up nicely for Tuesday, Wednesday. Turkey Day, colder and 43. And there could even be potentially, some computer models say, some rain snow mix that moves in for us with a storm system by Black Friday. So that's something that we're tracking very closely.
Nope. Still ahead, online sports gambling in Maryland has its launch date. That's a nope about the snow, of course, when you'll be able to bet on your favorite team. Here's a look at today's top trending stories. Number one, online sports gambling in Maryland will officially launch November 23rd. Betting experts say it is a long time coming.
Maryland has had the longest amount of time between the sports betting bill being signed into law to when citizens will be able to place a bet on their phone. No other state has been as slow as Maryland.
Well, this comes one day after the Maryland Sports Wagering Review Commission awarded sports betting licenses to 10 businesses. The state says it's received a total of 21 applications. Number two, the Biden administration is appealing to the Supreme Court to reinstate and restart its student loan forgiveness program. Well, the government website for applications says the program was paused following recent setbacks in court. The government website for applications says the program was paused again following those setbacks. Millions of Americans have already applied for relief of up to $20,000. Number three, the FDA is approving a new treatment that could help millions of people at risk for type 1 diabetes. The biologic therapy is called T-Shield, and it's designed to delay the body's attack on its insulin-producing cells. Now, this buys people more time before becoming dependent on insulin. Those injections, of course, and it could delay the onset of diabetes by up to 2 years. With J.K. Dobbins out and Gus Edwards banged up, Kenyon Drake has stepped up, next man up. Rocco DeSangro has more in Sports Unlimited. That's all for us on the late edition. Thank you for watching. I'm Kai Jackson. Now here's Rocco DeSangro with Sports Unlimited. And Rocco was at Ravens headquarters today. Rocco?
Yes, sir, Kai. I was. The Ravens' backfield has struggled to stay healthy the last 2 years. J.K. Dobbins currently out while Gus Edwards is limited. But the NFL's a next man up league, and Kenyon Drake has answered the call. I caught up with the Ravens running back one-on-one to talk about how his first season in Charm City is going.
I'm excited about the potential of this offense continuing to, hit the mark, especially later in the season. Offense is really hitting the mark. Defense is doing their thing. Special teams is just a three-facet team. So it's cool to see everybody kind of, get to the point to where we're comfortable and, take it to the next step as the season gets going.
I heard you talk about watching the Ravens from afar the last couple of seasons after the Saints game. What about this team and this franchise stuck out to you, and what made you want to come and play here?
besides the Patriots, from a historical standpoint, the Ravens has been the next team, especially in the AFC and NFL in general. And I feel like if it wasn't for the Patriots, the Ravens would be, even more premier than they already are. So it's interesting being here and kind of seeing everything from a in-depth perspective because I'm inside now, and I've always wondered how everything was ran, and I'm excited to be here, continue to get better week in and week out, and see how this season continues to unfold.
You guys have been running over teams on the ground, getting back to that traditional ground game. You could do it all. Catches out of the backfield, you can run the ball. But is it nice to get back to that ground game and just establish the dominance against the defense?
Yeah, I feel like anybody that plays ball understands that at any level of the game, it's defense wins championships, and you have to have a balanced offense to sustain drives and sustain games. And with our running game, you have to respect 8 coming out the backfield, me coming out the backfield, anybody else for that matter. Even I call him Debo Duvernay, but Devin Duvernay kind of coming out the backfield. And I'm excited about how we will continue to establish the run, continue to pound the rock late in games, late into the season in general. To establish just that dynamic and tough type of offensive style that we run.
As far as injuries go, Jalen Armour-Davis did not practice today due to a hip injury. Gus Edwards and Mark Andrews were both limited. When Andrews was asked in the locker room if he'd play Sunday, he said you never know. So you truly don't know. Jason Pierre-Paul was a full participant again. Paul Goldschmidt of the Cardinals won the NL MVP. Aaron Judge of the Yankees won the award for the American League. And Orioles rookie Adley Rutschman finished 12th in voting. The O's catcher received a 5th-place vote, an 8th, a 9th, and a 10th. Not bad for his first year in the show. Picked to win their conference this season, Towson men's basketball is living up to the hype. The Tigers have roared to a 3-0 start, looking to make some history with a win tonight. Towson locked in with UNC Greensboro. Cam Holden with a big bucket here. Nick Timberlake, I'm telling you what, he was just on another level. Nothing new, though. He led all scorers with 26, just getting buckets. You'll see a big one here. Pat Scarry, career win number 200. Timberlake scores his 1,000th career point in the process, and the Tigers start 4-0, listen to this, for the first time in their Division I history with the 56-53 win. West Baltimore's own Gervonta Tank Davis will fight again January 7th against an unspecified opponent. But it's the fight after that that has the internet buzzing. Davis has announced that he'll fight undefeated Ryan Garcia. That one, when it happens, it's going to be huge for the sport, I'm telling you. And that'll do it for this edition of Sports Unlimited. I'm Rocco DeSangro. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.